Welcome back to the Rad Hyrox podcast. Today in this episode, we are joined by Jake Williamson. You've probably heard of him. He is certainly one to watch in the sport at the moment, and he recently competed in the Elite 15 in Washington, D.C. It was an interesting start to his Elite 15 career, probably, he would admit. He has a really varied background, so much so that we've just talked about it, and I don't think I can cover it. So I'm actually going to hand straight over to Jake so he can introduce himself. How you doing, Jake?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Just got back, had a shower, been in the gym this morning. My background is quite varied, but I guess probably I'll stick to the sporting route for the viewers, and probably why they're here a little bit. Have a background playing football and running. Tried to play pro as most sort of young lads do and aspire for that journey. Had a few trials with a few pro clubs, but never quite made it. And then COVID happened. So COVID happened, and then I kind of had a few self-reflective situations where I was sort of discovering myself and ultimately came out as gay, had met my partner, and that was a whole journey within itself. And then I didn't actually discover Hyrox, but I kind of, through lockdown, I was kind of training in that process, and just kind of, because I was in a situation where I was dealing with quite a lot of things mentally, training just became like an absolute godsend. Like I would run and then I would train and then I'd run again. So that's my background. And then I found Hyrox. It's not even been a year, actually. I did my first one on the 20th of March, I think, Barcelona last year. So just coming up to a year. And since then it's kind of not really looked back, and we've gone full send, and now I'm pretty much doing it full time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot's happened in a year just with the sport alone as well. I think we're the same. We only found it recently, but it's just growing and growing. So were you training, obviously using that as an escape to kind of deal with everything that was going on in your life? But were you training generally like functional fitness, kind of CrossFit style, or is that what you felt was quite a good crossover? Or from the football, lots of intervals, I guess? What do you think helped you cross over into Hyrox?
I would say the running and football helped. I always say that, when I used to play football, I used to play so much that I never really trained legs. I think
Yeah.
I think that's kind of hindered me at this point where I am now. I think that's where I need to sort of, the foundations are kind of there, but from a strength perspective, I'm not where I kind of need to be. And then combining the two. So I would always, in that training process, because I wasn't training for Hyrox, I would train purely strength and for aesthetics on this side of things. And then running was its kind of own separate entity, where it was just I've always done it from when I was a kid, and I was very good at it. And it was just sort of right, I'm going to chase PBs now in lockdown and just take people's Strava segments and just have fun with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. That's a cool way to look at it. And then going into your first Hyrox, how did you hear about it though? How did you find that transition? Obviously you stopped the football. Did you just stop totally because of
I stopped because of COVID.
COVID?
Yeah, and then I was kind of right, I need to get a proper job and actually start using my degree for actually a career-based stuff. My PT, I was doing a lot of personal training anyway, but it wasn't where it is now in that sense. It wasn't really that successful because I was in a small little town and no one really knew who I was. And then I can't remember what the question was. What was the question?
How did you transition into Hyrox? So did the football just stop and you decided that was it?
Yeah.
And then you were looking for a new sport, or?
And then I was playing Sunday football, and that was the period where I came out as gay, and then I did a podcast with the BBC, and then I actually got kicked off a football team because of it. So I basically did the podcast for the BBC. The team found out and then just cut me off the team, which is a whole nother story, which is where my social media platform kind of comes from. It's not actually from the Hyrox stuff, I wouldn't say. It's definitely, it was originally, became down the route of sort of LGBTQ plus advocacy and just talking about it from a playing football perspective. So I didn't stop playing football at that point, but that was kind of right, I'm not making money. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily enjoying it that much. I'm not playing with friends, which was kind of one of the big reasons why I played anyway. And then when I moved up to Birmingham, I actually joined a running club called BRAT, which is Birmingham Running and Triathlon, but they have lots of different like areas within the club. And the guys there were just very, very good. Like I was chasing their tails, which just like wasn't normally the case from where I was from. So I moved up to Birmingham and then joined the running club, and I was like, right, these guys are serious. Like, I need to like up my game. And they were clocking like 70, 80, 90 Ks a week, some of them doing 100 odd miles. And I was just doing 5Ks and then playing football. So then I got a place in London Marathon.
Okay.
And at that point was when I stopped playing football because I just kept getting kicked. And then I went and did London. And then after London, I found Hyrox.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. And then, so pulling back to where you said about being kicked off the football team, do you find Hyrox is a much more inclusive sport?
Yeah, I kind of describe it as women's football in a sense because of its infancy.
Yeah.
Not like women's football hasn't been around, but the scale that it is now,
starting to build at the same. They're almost building on the same trajectory at the moment, aren't they?
And because it's 5 years old, and because I'm sort of an early adopter, I would like to think, and because I'm pretty good, then it allows me to sort of be at the top and be at the table, like sitting at the dinner table after a Hyrox with the likes of Hunter and all of those boys who are kind of like the pinnacle of the sport already. It's like it's so normalized already. So I'd like to think that anyone else that kind of comes into the sport can see me there and be like, right, this place is a place in which I am welcome. So that's kind of the mindset I have with it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great mindset to have. And when you first went to, you said Barcelona was your first race?
Yeah, March last.
Yeah. And what did you go into that thinking I could probably do pretty well here, or were you just there to try something different and see what went, or what were your kind of like first impressions of the race? Did you put a lot of pressure on yourself to race? Like what was that day?
I would always say I'm quite confident in like a lot. Like I obviously I would say I'm lucky, but I also work very, very hard to be like the position that I am in. I'd like to think I can walk into most sports and perform to some capacity when it's like a physical based sport. Like for example, I got thrown into triple jump at the track and field meet, and I came like second. Not like there's many people that do triple jump, but I just like I'm probably that annoying guy that everyone hates, but they also don't see the hard work that goes in behind the scenes a lot of the time. So
and it's built up over years and years.
Yeah,
you've
not
just started training last year, like you've been training since
exactly.
you were little.
And it's like I knew it was very much a running race as well, and I backed my running ability. Obviously, I underestimated a lot when I went in. Like there was a few elements. The sled wasn't too bad on my first one. I thought it was going to be worse because people had said it's like really tough. The wall balls were the death of me. Like I got videos. I had to get a box. I literally had to get a box. I was like, she was like, no rep. And I was like, I can't go any lower.
Help me, someone. Was this just for context, was it a pro or was it an open? What did you do first? You went straight in at pro.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's for guys like what, 9 kilos, 100 wall balls?
9, yeah. So 900 kilos over your head, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, that humbled me a lot. But I did 66 minutes, which is quite a respectable time. Like, but when you go in and you're like, it's your first one, you don't really know what a good time is. You don't really know how to pace it. You don't really know much about anything. So it's kind of a good thing in a way. You kind of just go in and be like, yeah, the nerves are there, but now it's like, now I know every station and I know how much it's gonna hurt, and I know where I need to sort of like even after Washington, I said to Rich, I was like, I need to just stop being such a baby, man. Like I was on the burpees and I was like, I'm like crawling on the floor, just go quicker. Yeah,
I think that's the thing. Yeah, when you go into your first one, it's like a blessing in disguise because you don't know how much it's gonna hurt. But then, like after that, you're like, oh god.
Also, it
Oh
doesn't
no,
get
go on.
it doesn't get any easier. It just gets quicker. So like if anything, it's like the quicker you go, not necessarily the harder it is, but the more you're putting your body and your lungs and your heart under this stress.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like I always remember someone saying to me when I did my first ever 2K row, like 2K time trial on a rower, and they were like, enjoy your first time because it will never ever be as good. Like that's the best it's ever going to feel. And obviously it feels horrendous. And then every single time you're always chasing that time.
Yeah.
You just get fitter. It never gets easier, does it? But
and then
yeah,
it's also like your PBs go, like the time that you're trying to chase, you can only gain so much.
break
right?
it down.
Like it's the same with like running a 5K. If you're running a 30-minute 5K, you know you've got 10 minutes you could possibly take off if you really put like decent training into it. Whereas like when you're down to like 16 minutes, 15 minutes, it's like you're taking seconds off, but that's still very, very good.
Yeah.
So it's also mentally coming to terms with that as well is quite a big thing that a few people struggle with for sure.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
absolutely.
And that's like one of the big questions we've got around Hyrox, isn't it? Like the physical and the mental, because it's obviously two big games and they can interact and change and switch, and we'll come on to that in a bit. But firstly, like your Hyrox journey so far, like to summarize the last year, could you, for anyone that hasn't maybe been following or is going to start following you, like where you started from that first race to where you are now and how you ended up in Washington at the Elite 15?
I've actually not had a great year. Like I had a back operation 6 months ago now. I'd probably put it down to Hyrox and its training. So I would definitely say like when you're going into these training sessions and putting yourself under this stress and stimulus, be ready to sort of spend money on physio. Like don't necessarily, if you have them, obviously like some people can't necessarily afford it, but I would definitely sort of put those things as a key to your training. Like pre-session, warm up properly. But like I know obviously we're tight for time a lot of the time, but just sort of like even if it's like a quick routine and a warm up, like just do it. Like you can't be going into these heavy sleds and stations and sort of pushing these crazy weights when your body's not even sort of primed and warm. So it's like definitely that to take into consideration. But yeah, I did Barcelona and then I did a doubles with my sister. But bless her, she was very, very under the weather and she had to cope with me running around.
Oh no. Did she make you most of the work? And Jordan's a good athlete herself, isn't she?
Yeah, she just ran a 1:13 on her own, I think.
Amazing.
Yeah, so she's no sucker. But I definitely it was a tough day for her, bless her. But she does it with my other brother, and they're kind of I think she's actually a little bit fitter than him, like on the running in particular. So she kind of like knows where we're coming from now. But that was, and then after that, it was pretty much going straight into Worlds. I don't think I did another one. No, I was meant to go and do one in Copenhagen or Malmo, but they cancelled it. What I did was a simulation in the gym, and I dropped like a 56 minutes in the pro, but the running was outside. But I was like really fit. Like it was probably the best I've ever felt training wise. I had just ran a 72-minute half marathon.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, like I was like flying. And then after that race, my back started really hurting, and I was like, anytime I was doing any squats or like any compound lifts really where it was like strength based, my back was just sort of like cramping up and I just couldn't do it. So I kind of had to take a massive deload in training and it just wouldn't go away. So the pain was there for like 4 or 5 months and I was like, right, I need to see someone. So I went and had an MRI and the doctor was like, yeah, you've got pretty bad like degenerative problems with your facet joints. And I was like, okay, what does that mean?
How do I continue?
So now what?
And it was like, you can either go on, like it's not really going to do anything. Like if most athletes had a scan, they would probably have this type of thing come up, but not everyone gets the level of pain that you're kind of going through. Like some people, there's no pain at all. Some there's not. So I then made the decision to have what's called denervation, which is where you sort of burn away the nerves essentially. So you technically, your nerves send the signals to your brain, right? So you burning the nerves away no longer sends the signals to your brain. I mean, it didn't do anything. It still flipping hurts, but it helped for a small period of time. But prior to that, I went and did Manchester at Worlds, and I had a terrible day. Like my back was just in absolute agony. So I did a 66 minutes there.
I mean, that's incredible. It being in pain. Like
I got round. I got round. But it's one of those where, especially in a Hyrox as well, when your body's literally telling you quit the whole time, and then you've got a pain that's saying stop.
Yeah, and in your head you're battling as to whether it's going to make it worse or not.
Yeah, to just do that was I was proud of that. And I was told that I wouldn't be doing any further long-term damage, so it was kind of in my head. I'm not being an idiot by doing this. Like if it was really, I would stop if I knew it was doing damage. And then what else did I? And then I did Birmingham just before the operation, and I was really ill. And it's a big factor. Like I would recommend, if you are ill and you have a Hyrox coming up, there's going to be other Hyroxes. Like you're not gonna throw down a good time unless you're going there purely to have fun. Like you're not going to put down a good time, because you need to be at 100%, because it's so taxing. So I would recommend not doing that. I ran a 109. The sled pull took me 8 minutes, I think, or 9 minutes. But it was crazy heavy. I think everyone on that day struggled. And then I just took some time off. Like I was like, I need to have my back done. I'm just going to kind of enjoy slow running and take all the pressure off. Because I had quite a lot of high pressure just from like when you've got a large social media following and you've got people talking about you, like it can be really tough to, like, when you're not throwing down like really good times and you're like, why not? Like I can run faster than everyone else, I can lift just as heavy as everyone else, but I'm not putting the two together. So I kind of like
that stress as well can also play into like you trying to recover from an injury, you know, because it's like probably making all your muscles tighter and like all that external pressure on you is not letting you kind of relax. And
you don't feel those stresses like you like. But science says, and we know that like those external pressures and stresses do have a massive impact on performance and recovery.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then my next race was London, and I went and did an open race, and I thought, I'm just going to go have fun here. Like I've got loads of people that I know that are in London, like no pressure, kind of just go and have fun. And I ran a 56, and I was like, oh, maybe I am good at Hyrox.
Is that when you broke the world record?
So yeah, I broke the British record and the world record for my age group. Yeah.
But you probably really needed that as well. Like I think just to go into it and not have that pressure, maybe because you were racing like open and that's not what you usually did, and to have like your friends around supporting, you probably really needed that just to go and enjoy it, and then it paid off in performance anyway. Like I
mean, I think it's the same with everything in my head anyway. Like a bit like the 4-minute mile, essentially. Like once it was broken, 100 people then broke it. So for me, I was like, I broke 60 minutes, which was like the barrier I was trying to break by 4 minutes. So mentally I was like, right, I can do this. Like I know I can do this. And then the week after, I was going to Stockholm, and I did a pro race there, and I ran 59:05.
Oh, nice.
Which kind of put me in the top 25 at the time. To which I think another 10 people have probably ran quicker now, because the standard's just getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
And that was and then I did one more race after that, which was Manchester, which was a tough course. Like it was so busy, and I think I ran 60 minutes on the dot, I think. So not too bad.
Wow. And so then how did all that lead to you ending up at Washington? And you can obviously tell everyone, for the people that don't know, that your like trip into Washington into the Elite 15 wasn't like pre-planned with a nice taper into it, was it?
No, I had a pretty heavy training week as well. So I was planning to go to Glasgow, but I was only going to do that purely for fun. Like my back's been playing up a little bit since. I was umming and ahhing, being like, I'm going to go up because friends and family were there. So I was going to just go and have a nice weekend and then maybe compete and do a bit of like a training run on the Saturday. And I kind of document quite a lot of my training. So like, it's not hidden that I was like, that's literally like what I was doing. My back was killing me. I wasn't even really going to race. And then I got an email on Wednesday night and it was like, there's been a roll down opportunity for the Elite 15. So the Elite 15, for anyone that doesn't know, a lot of people actually don't know what the Elite 15 is. It's essentially like the top 15 in the world, male and female, has to be pro weight, compete in their own separate series. There's 4 races across the year, all of which you're trying to then qualify. Top 3 spots qualify you for the World Championships in the Elite 15. It's very difficult to get in because like the top 5 places are already taken because of the year before, essentially. And then after each one, it kind of gets tighter and tighter. The opportunity does come if people don't accept their places or they've already qualified or they can't make it, because sometimes it's across the other side of the world, where they turn it down or they're ill or they're injured. Luckily for me, there was a roll down spot. I got an email Wednesday night saying, would you be able to come to Washington, DC, which is essentially a 20-hour travel day by the time you go from the airport to, I actually flew to Dublin and then to Washington. And I was like, I'm in an hour and I was thinking, I might never get this opportunity again. Like the standard is so high at the moment. So I called some friends. I called Hunter, and he was like, you got into this to not to post pictures on Instagram, but to race. So go and bloody race.
You knew he was going to talk you into it. He's not going to say I
knew, yeah. Like in my head, I was like, right, you're going to do it. But I just needed someone like him to be like,
to believe in you and say you can do it. Yeah.
No bullshit, essentially. Like,
yeah.
So, and at that point, like, felt really bad. My mum and dad had come up on Wednesday to spend 2 days with me before we all drove up to Glasgow together. And I was like, Mum, why don't we book some flights to Washington? And she was like, oh, fine. Hello. And yeah, so I looked online and I basically sent an email saying I'm in, because I didn't want to lose a space, because I from what I assume they probably send that email to the next 10 on the list, essentially, because they want to fill those spots. Messaged the lady and was like, yeah, I'm in, without really actually seeing the price of the flights and the accommodation as well. So yeah, it cost me about 1,500 quid flights and accommodation, which like it obviously is a lot of money, but at the same time it's like the experience and everything's priceless. And what
you've been working towards, like,
exactly. I had one goal essentially this year, and that was to make it into the Elite 15. I would qualify for Worlds, but we're going to leave that to the last chance qualifiers without giving spoilers for what happened in DC. And then I flew out Thursday, and then the competition was Friday. So
mental.
I didn't leave myself with the best of chances to sort of perform. And then obviously you've got time zones and everything to consider. And I ended up competing at 2 a.m. UK time with a 22-hour travel day in my legs. So to put down the time I did, it was actually like respectable. But
100%.
It's annoying for sure when you know you can compete with these guys. Like I beat Florian, one of the guys that raced, like 3 weeks prior in Manchester. And then he came like 9th. I came 12th, so I didn't lose, but
it's 12 out of 15 incredible athletes. It's
not 12 out of, like,
these are the top of the sport. Like, exactly. It's like, to put it in perspective, it's like everyone there, it's anyone's day, isn't it, really? You're also like tight and so close in your racing. Yeah,
and at that point as well, like if you're not 100%, like you are not gonna win, essentially. Like we're all very kind of level in terms of everyone has different strengths, but like ability wise, I'd say we're all quite level. So it's like whoever kind of shows up on the day.
I want to know, like, what does it feel like only being 15 people out there? Like
it's actually really lonely, especially when you're in a position where there's no one around you.
I just feel like it must be bizarre. Like the track is empty. Like there's
I would say it's definitely lonely on the runs, and like when you mentally know that people are like ahead of you or like coming past you, and you're normally sort of at the front, like you're not.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
Like mentally, it can be tough, for sure. Like you kind of just have to run your own race, and just like what Graham did essentially. Like he ran his own race, got to the wall balls, which is what his strengths are, threw 100 unbroken and came second. Like
unreal.
That's crazy. And if only I'd kind of like, the more you do, the more you learn. Like losing is learning essentially. Like you'll always take something from a race, whether it's sort of doing a no rep or going out too hot or going out too slow, or just like learning your pacing strategies. And he's now done 4 elite races, and he kind of has just taken each one and learned and then put an absolute perfect race together. So the more you do, the better you get essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. And did you get treated any differently, like when you got there? Because you obviously get like your kit, and like, what's it like turning up today? Do you get your own dressing room, or
you just go into this like bog standard room where they do like the most like basic explanation of the rules, and it's like we all compete in sport. Like we all know.
You've all been there before.
Yeah, I was like,
it's not my first race.
But even if because obviously it's technically my first elite race, and you are racing on a grid, which is a different format. But I was like, you're just explaining like how to do wall balls.
A wall ball.
What?
You'd like to hope you guys have got that sus by the time you get
there.
Yeah,
you think so. Yeah, and then you get all your kit in there. So we had like a running vest and shorts. I chose not to wear my shorts, and I wore my Lululemon shorts, which are guaranteed speed.
I mean, that is quite risky, isn't it, to wear a new pair of shorts for
exactly,
that rate? Like,
yeah, the top comes off straight away anyway, but the short you need to, and then you get taken down, and obviously it was all the new equipment, so it was all the
center.
And people say the sleds were slow. Fast. I thought they were flipping heavy. I was there like, what the hell? Why is everyone moving them so quick? I think I need to work on my sled push. But and then you go around. I would say like most of the athletes are kind of just like really welcoming, but I guess everyone's kind of in their zone. So like people aren't going to be necessarily chatting to you and being like, hi, who are you? Like blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, because everyone's there to do a job, aren't they? Like basically everyone's trained so hard for it. It's like going to the Olympics or something where everyone's like, you're there for that second to make it count, make all your training count.
Whereas I was just there for the experience, to be honest.
You were half asleep, weren't you?
Yeah.
2 a.m.
I was past the tiredness, and I was in that like crazy phase.
And did the kit feel any was there any difference in the kit? Did you notice anything, or is it very similar to?
The biggest difference for me was like the grid, like the turning with the farmers was tough.
Okay.
And the person who was next to me put them down, and then I put them down, and I purely think that was like from like seeing them drop them. I was like, I never dropped them. Yeah. They're probably nicer though, because they're kind of, it's more flat, it's less like a round ball, and it's more like a rectangle, so you can hold them a bit better legs. I mean, the 32 kilos is so heavy that it's just horrid anyway.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The rope, I would say the sled pull for me was probably easier than normal. It just doesn't fall to the side as well, so it's quite easy to trip up on it. I tripped over, my foot went behind the line, and they were like, that's a warning. I was like, that's a bit harsh. and in that new format, you get 2 warnings, and then the third one you have to go all the way to the other end, pull it 2.5 meters back, and then run all the way back to your end where you were, pull it another 2.5 meters, so you get a 5-meter penalty. And then carry on. That's like 30 seconds.
You should have listened to the rules a bit better at the beginning in the dressing room, and then maybe you would have tripped.
I mean, I didn't have to do that, because I did get 2 warnings overall, though. I was like, oh shit.
God, that's close.
Yeah. I probably should have done it on purpose, just so I could have had an excuse for running
I mean, that's going to take like minutes to go, like run all the way the other side, pull.
I'd say like 30 seconds. Yeah.
Do you reckon? God.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
it was a hell of an experience. And then I got 3 days in Washington afterwards. But as I said, I would have liked to have put down a bit of a quicker time and kind of sat mid pack, because I think like even if I dropped 60 minutes, like it would have been like 10th, I think.
Yeah, amazing.
It wasn't a quick course.
But I doubt this is the last time you're going to be in it. I think.
No, I was going to say,
future's bright.
Yeah. What is the future? Is there? Well, do you want to say what is your future goals or targets, or do you keep your cards close to your chest? Or
if I'm chatting to Hunter at the moment about, so one of the last chance qualifiers for World Championships is in Anaheim, which is like an hour from where he lives. Okay. And I'll probably give myself a little bit longer to adjust.
Maybe go out a couple of days before at least.
What I'm going to try, and that's in the end of May. So what I'm thinking is probably fly out like very early May and do 2 weeks up in the cardio castle in the mountains.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it's all dependent. He's a busy man as well, so it all just depends on if we can fit it out. But even if he's not there, I might just text him and be like, "Can I just have the keys?" And just yeah, because it's one of the. It's like it's tough because like in the grand scheme of things, Hyrox is so it's in such an infancy. Like this year doesn't matter too much. Like to be honest, like next year probably matters more as the sport grows and grows and grows. And I was like, even if I go to Worlds, like these guys, I know that like you have to have some realism about it. Like there's at least 5 guys who are gonna beat me, guaranteed. Like they're so fast. Even on an off day, they'll probably still beat me. So it's almost like, but you also want to be there. So it's very much an intrinsic motivation at the moment to be like there. Like extrinsically, like I know that I'm probably not where I need to be to like really compete.
It's that thing where you said like the experience there, isn't it? Like the more you compete at that level, the more you learn, the more like you can feed it into the next race.
Yeah, and also like the better the people you compete against, you're going to up your levels as well.
Raise your game, yeah.
So like you have to just be in it, raise your game. Whereas if you're not and you're just constantly racing against sort of like the general population, as sort of brutal as that sounds, like you're going to be a bit lazy on the rower. You're going to be a bit like when you see that there's no one next to you, like you're just naturally going to do those things. So Rich my coach always calls me a sandbagger because he says I can always go a little bit faster. But
there's always a little bit more in the tank.
There's always more you can give, 100%. I mean, I was pretty battered and bruised after the wall balls in Washington, to be honest.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I feel like if there's a place you're going to send it, it's like you're going to give it your all on a stage like that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the plan. I think like I'm definitely like full on Hyrox in the summer. Once Nice is over, I need to book on. I'm probably going to do Berlin Marathon and just kind of get a little bit of redemption from my London experience because I absolutely bonked towards the end, which was just when you hit a wall. I mean,
it's a good one as well.
I still ran a good time. I just wanted a bit quicker. And then I've got just like 100k race. Just
casual.
Just like casual. Just more of like a fun day in the mountains or the hills in Oxfordshire. And not much else. In summer's kind of just a couple of months to play around, have fun, take the pressure off. Probably build some strength if my back allows me to.
Amazing. And how about like still obviously aligned with Hyrox, but how about some of your like outside work, so your business goals? Like obviously we can see you working with Lululemon, you've got Better the Next Day. What's going on there? You're a busy guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to kind of future proof, but also actually like give a bit back. So B.T.N.D, Better the Next Day is my baby. I'd say it's a business, but there's a few different channels to it. So we've got a charity basically, which is essentially like the run clubs, and I've set it up in that way so that we can get funding to do some really cool activations and events. Obviously, quite a big thing close to my heart is sort of, I don't really want to call it LGBT activism because it's not necessarily that, but it's just sort of like being a presence and a role model within that world and helping kids that went through, like I played football for 20 years and there was no support, like or just conversations, like we just did, like it just didn't happen. And it's like if I was going through that, then there's hundreds and thousands of others that are as well, because it's not just Premier League, like grassroots football, every single kid plays it essentially. So I would like to have enough sort of funding and backing to actually do some cool things and like make a difference in that world. And then this year the plans are, so I've got an app in development at the moment, which will be sort of bit of everything, more like wellness, but also all of my online training and everything also funnels through that as well. So we'll have a lot of seminars and breath work and wellness, recovery, S&C based stuff. A lot of those injury prevention things that I mentioned at the beginning. So almost like a one-stop shop, which will be cool. And then what I'm doing at the moment is fighting with the landlord to get a gym space opened up. So I live in Birmingham, and there's a few like on the outskirts, but there's not much sort of where I live in terms of like a real functional place to train. And also back to like an inclusive place. I think a big reason why I set B.T.N.D up was because there's no one's done it well in terms of a place where you can, and it doesn't even have to be like a mass global scale, but no one's done it well where you really feel safe and accepted going to these places. And I think sport can be quite a daunting place for like the 80% of the population who aren't like us. And I want it to feel like they can come and join in. And also like I'm a massive believer that like everyone has the potential to be like their best athlete. So not even like they don't need to be running a 60-minute Hyrox, but like I feel like the benefits you get from sport and fitness and exercise is just like it's medically proven to be like the biggest savior in terms of depression, mental health, and I want everyone to sort of be able to experience that in like a safe environment. So that's the plan.
Oh, that sounds amazing. It sounds like I don't think there can be enough of those kind of support.
No, exactly, and that's what I say.
That's
it's
the thing,
like,
isn't it?
You don't need to sort of save the whole world with it, but as long as there's enough people doing those things in sort of small places, then we're on the right track, aren't we? Like anyone that like ever listens to this and needs help setting something up, just drop me a message. Like I'll be more than happy to help. And obviously because I've got the charity branch, it hopefully in the future it means I can help other people set things up as well. And sort of if it's funding or even just like help with business elements of things, then I can sort of provide that. So yeah, agreed.
Oh, yeah, no, it is amazing, and everything you're saying is great. And I think people just having more conversations about it and trying to welcome people into the space and make them feel comfortable is like the best thing that all of us can do. So no, yeah, love that. Okay, moving back towards Hyrox, if you could give 3 top tips of either during race, prepping for race, for a newbie, for an experienced Hyroxer, do you have any standout things that you like live by, like top tips for Hyrox?
I would definitely say like there's so much social aspect to it as well. Like it's not just a sport. I would definitely say sort of, and it might take 2 or 3 attempts to find the right one, but go to an affiliate gym, whether it's CrossFit or whether it's Hyrox. I think like from a social perspective, you'll meet very, very nice people.
Like-minded as well.
Sometimes gyms can be bad, but from 90% of my experiences, like you walk in and you might need to do a bit more and introduce yourself and sort of like fit in, because sometimes people are busy or they've had tough days or whatever. Not every experience will be the same if you go in Monday to Friday. But I think that's probably top tip number 1 is kind of like buy into the community. Is sort of, I know CrossFit sometimes get a rep of being a bit culty, but once you are in it, it's very welcoming and people want you to do well. I think that's the biggest thing with Hyrox. Like I've got people that are chasing my tail or people that are ahead of me, and all you want to do is see them do well and succeed, because you know how much hard work that they've put in to get to that position.
I think that's the nice thing about Hyrox. It seems like everyone's just trying to bring each other up. Like it is a very supportive community. As much as it's a competitive sport, like I think everyone wants everyone else to enjoy it as much as they are, and like get new people involved. And like you say, I think trying to maybe find somewhere where you can train with other people. It's just like surround yourself in people that are going to bring you up and help you do what you want to do. So yeah, really good point.
Tip number 2 would be a bit kind of what I said at the beginning in terms of like injury prevention. Do your S&C work. The training volume will naturally be high because you need to run and lift. So just either get a coach or sort of diarize your training. Like if you have the education and the knowledge, like kind of see the volume you're doing and then just progressively overload if you need to. Like don't go all in at once, because it's just a recipe for disaster. And like as much as you want to get really fit really quickly straight away and chase the PBs, like you've got to lay those foundations, otherwise you're just going to crumble. Like the volume is so high that not everyone can handle it. Like I've trained in this capacity, although I only done for Hyrox for a year. I trained in this capacity for 5 years. I still got like a back injury. So it's like just be careful and appreciate the sport for what it is, because it's it is tough.
It's brutal. It is brutal.
Tip number 3, probably similar, but just from a nutritional perspective. Like you almost have to now, if you're training, start thinking about your food as a fuel source. I literally put a post about this the other day. Like I don't count any of my calories. Like I have a very good relationship with food because I enjoy it. Like it brings me happiness. Like I will eat a lot of bad food. Luckily I'm in a place where I can have extra calories to just top up, because I've got a very high BMR because of the amount that I do and train and my heart rate. But I wouldn't necessarily say you need to sort of calorie count, but just sort of even just jump on a nutrition call with someone, and if you don't have that education, understand like when you need to fuel before a session, what should you be taking on before a session, because that's going to be the difference. Like it's that your sessions are going to be better, therefore you're going to like lift more, run faster, run further, and that's the training is essentially like train hard, race easy. So do the hard bits now, and then the race becomes a little bit easier.
A little bit. Okay, cool. So bring us back. You kind of touched on it at the beginning, but physical or mental, what are your thoughts on Hyrox and also training, not just the physical training, but also how do you train for mental strength and mental fortitude to get through a race that is, like you've just said, quite brutal?
It's a topic I kind of have a lot, because I think I probably struggle with this more than I think.
Okay.
Like on paper, I should probably be up there in the top 3, like with essentially my lifting and strength, and also like my running capabilities, but I'm not. I think experience definitely comes down to it in terms of like this type of racing, because I've not done this type of racing before. So I think in like 2 or 3 years, that's when I'll sort of see a real change in sort of the times that I'm racing. But I definitely think mental is like a huge part. Like the amount of times you'll see people walk when you just know you could be running. But I don't even know the answer, because I kind of do all of the things that you're meant to do. Like we go and do like your ice baths and your mental stimulus and breathing and breath work and stuff like that, and I'm still trying to find the answers. So I don't necessarily. I guess it's kind of like it's almost that train hard, race easy, right? Like the harder you can train, and like don't skip reps, don't like cheat your burpees, don't cheat your squats, or like make sure your rest is within that certain period. That's probably going to make the biggest difference. I don't think there is sort of like a do this every day and you will succeed. Like social media kind of tricks us into that, I think, a little bit. When I think in reality, it's like, some people can put themselves into a deeper hole. But does that come down to experience? I probably think more so than sort of anything else. But I'm still trying to work that one out myself.
Well, what about when you've been having a tough race, and you're at a part, I don't know, for example, on the burpees, I don't know where you might hit a wall. But what do you say to yourself? How do you keep going?
I say to myself, but I guess mine's a little bit different. Like I say to myself, even if you like like, I don't know how to explain it. I kind of say it to myself, but I don't really verbalize it. It's
Yeah.
like you're going to put down a good time regardless. Like, you're still running a decent time. You feel like shit, but
you're still you're on for a good time.
Yeah, like you're still doing well. Like, almost like be proud and don't be a bitch.
Get on with it.
Yeah,
Do another one.
Stop sandbagging.
Yeah, it's not. I think that, no, most races I normally have Rich that is literally shouting at me like because but and I guess like that's the benefit of having a coach as well. Like, they know your capabilities. Like, yes, sometimes you have a bad day, but like, you will, when you're in that position, like your brain is screaming to stop essentially. Like, it's literally like, oh, just take 2 seconds off your 500-meter rowing time and you'll feel better, when it's like, actually I should probably go 2 seconds quicker and like really get into the race. But I'm very I need the music to be loud. You might have seen videos of me like on the rower and stuff, and I'm normally singing or trying to have fun with it, and sort of, I guess that's the biggest thing to take your mind away from the pain. Is like, so I always say, like, I don't really like running on my own that much. I like to run with other people because you can have a conversation, or like, not even if it's a physical. If you're running like a serious tempo, then you can't talk. But like, you know that they're there and they're in the same position as you.
they're just, they're suffering as well, and they're not going to stop. So why should you stop? Type thing.
Yeah. So that's my preferred. I normally train strength stuff on my own just because of like the timings and stuff. But yeah, running, I'm very much like, I need people around me.
I think that's a very good point. I feel like we feel like that because we do like nearly all our training together, but like especially on the runs, when there's someone else that's like digging deep in those harder sessions, it just pushes you to keep going, because it's like, well, they're not stopping, so I'm not stopping. Like, just
drag around.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. Well, we're gonna go on to the cheeky insights. So we've got 8 questions for you. The first one being the age-old question that's in every forum and everyone wants to know is, what shoes do you wear to race Hyrox?
I've worn both. So obviously, I think your 2 choices at the moment are probably going to be your Pumas or your Sauconys. I don't dislike the Pumas. I just don't find them as fast. Like, I actually raced in them in Washington only because I lost misplaced. I'm very
misplaced.
They will turn up somewhere, I'm sure.
You were packing under pressure. It's okay. There was a short period of time.
So yeah, my Saucony Endorphin Pro 3s is what I wear. I've got the Pro 4s. I think they're probably going to be a little bit too soft at the back in terms of like sled push and stuff, but I've not done much training in them yet, just running.
And how often do you train in your shoes you're going to race?
The race shoes. I actually normally train in the Pumas, just because I find them a little bit more supportive. Like, the Pro 3s are like, you're wearing them. Like, they are fast and they are not the most supportive around like your ankles and things. Whereas the Pumas are kind of just like a bit thicker and a bit sort of sturdier. So I do actually normally train in them. So probably not that much in the race shoes. Obviously, pre-race I'm going to wear them in, but
Oh, cool.
And do you do your running, like your interval sessions, you do a lot of track sessions and things like that? What do you run in on those?
I have a lot of shoes.
Yeah, everyone love trainers.
Yeah, I have a lot of shoes. So I do have a large shoe rotation, but normally the Vaporflies are like my go-to, like the not the original, but not the newest ones. Yeah, and then I've got a pair of like the really fast Saucony ones as well, like the Elite, I think they're called.
A good mix then.
Yeah,
Saucony,
I've got everything. Got Adidas, Saucony, Brooks, you name it. I'll probably have a pair somewhere in the house.
Tried it out. Tried and tested. You're a good person to ask that question to. I like it. Okay, what about favorite venue that you've raced in for Hyrox? Do you have a favorite? Is that hard?
I thought I think it's Olympia was great because the venue, like, you could literally walk around the top and you could see everything from above.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really cool. Manchester's a very cool space.
That's our favourite, Manchester.
Yeah, I think the UK ones are probably the best, to be honest. I'm excited to see what Berlin looks like because the run track is outside apparently.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Someone said that.
I heard that the other day.
Well.
Which kind of is a whole different.
Oh, it's a different race.
Yeah, totally different race.
Yeah.
Like
I'm running around. I need to start taking chewing gum or something because my mouth gets so dry.
Oh, so dry. It's horrible.
I'm like, before the race, I'm like, oh, I'm fine. And then like 2 seconds, I'm like,
yeah, you just get a dry mouth straight away, don't you?
Oh yeah, it's so
I think
true.
chewing gum might help. I might do that next time.
Give that a go. Just don't choke.
Probably Olympia. I think Olympia was cool, and I did it with my sister as well, which was a nice experience.
Amazing.
Okay, cool. What about favourite station? Hyrox station.
Probably Ski Erg because it's first, and you feel all right. Like I'm on it, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna win this race. In Washington, I came off, and I was like, I'm in 5th place here. I'm gonna win. And then somehow, I then looked to my left the next time, and I was like, oh, I'm like 10th, and I have no idea how it happened. I think it was. The ergs I'm all right. I'm quite tall, so
yeah.
I tend to be okay on the ergs. Not like fabulous, but I don't think anyone is unless you're Hunter.
I know.
And when they're sandwiched between 2 runs as well, so like it's not like just jumping on and giving your best 1K effort, is it? You've run into it and you've got to run out of it, so it's a totally different ball game.
And I'm going to add in a question here because I've just thought about it, but how did you whether for the Elite 15 or any other races, how did you pace like your runs? Are you just pacing on feel or are you lapping your watch? Or I feel like quite a few people are interested in how you're getting like the run times, because obviously the Garmin in the venues
they don't work.
So how do you?
I don't look at my watch once when I run.
No, you just on feel go for it, or just 100% full tilt,
or not feel. Mostly on feel. Like, but it varies so much day to day. Like Stockholm, my 8K was 27 minutes, which is rapid.
Yeah,
that is rapid.
Yeah. Whereas like Manchester and stuff, it was like 29:30, so that's like a 2-minute difference. So yeah, just depends on the day, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay,
I do have a time that I'm trying to get my 1Ks in, but that doesn't really happen, to be honest. It's always a little bit slower than the plan.
Yeah, and it's difficult when every venues you're racing is different as well, so it's hard to compare like race to race. But yeah, just generally I thought like it didn't even cross my mind until we did our first race that my Garmin wouldn't actually work, and I had no idea.
I still think it's going to work every time. I mean, I still press go.
Yeah, have a quick look.
I still turn it on and I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, still nothing.
One day it'll work.
Maybe in Berlin when you go outside. Whoa.
Okay, if you could do a doubles Hyrox with anyone in the world, who would it be? And it can be absolutely anyone, dead or alive. Up to you.
I'm thinking from like a performance base or from like an actual like socialization perspective.
Either or both. What, you get one of each, or I mean,
I'd probably go Frank Lampard personally. Do a doubles together, just so I could I think we could chat along the way, and then I could
have a nice chat while you're running.
But he's also like, I'm talking like 20 years ago maybe when he was
professional.
Yeah, he was
playing football.
Yeah, because I think we could put a good time down, but we could also I could pick his brains a little bit.
Yeah, enjoy it.
And then someone I put a picture of Roxy's jumper. She's getting restless, but my dog, she's very fast. And someone was like, mixed doubles. And you
do a lot of run training with her, don't you? You do go out with her on the run.
Yeah, we run together quite a bit. She's good.
Watch this space. Okay, we've touched on fuel a little bit, but for the actual race, do you take on any fuel during? And if so, what do you use? Or do you take something before? What's your general routine?
I'm not a massive fan of gels personally. Like I don't obviously like they have their benefits. Hyrox, like it's an hour race. it might be worth taking something like pre-race, so you don't like spike really early on. Like in some races, I've definitely like gone out and I'm like, why do I feel so rough? Like after like the first run or the ski, when it's like I'm literally just running like a 3:20, like just doing that one run on its own, I'd feel fine normally.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I'm working with nutritionists to like discover the best processes. I've started taking a supplement from Morton, which is called bicarb. It's basically like bicarb is a pretty common thing, but if you take it on its own, without going into too much detail, it very much affects your bowel movements. Like it's like, but like bad. Like
why are you taking it?
Not what you want in a Hyrox race.
But what Morton have done is they've come up with a system in which you can take it where it's mixed with, I think it's mixed with something like, it's like seaweed or something. I've not actually read the packet. But it stops the process of
that happening,
irritation.
Yeah.
But bicarb, it kind of, from my knowledge, it works similarly to what a beetroot shot would do. Okay. So it's a vasodilator, therefore
more oxygen to the muscles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I took it in London when I ran fast. So I think it worked.
What?
You could,
I also took it in DC and I ran like an absolute gorilla.
You need to try and test it a few more times.
Yeah, exactly. Out. Yeah, I've got 2 results and one was good.
And
one included a 20-hour flight with probably a lot of dehydration and sleep deprivation.
I should have weighed myself because I reckon I was probably an extra like 3 or 4 kilos just from the flight.
Just being on the flight and dehydration from that.
Yeah. So it would have been interesting to do like almost like a study if I had more time.
If you had any more time than just throwing a few trainers in a bag and getting on a plane.
Yeah, the wrong trainers and
the wrong trainers. Okay, what is your favorite Hyrox training session? Like, doesn't have to be super specific, but it could be a format or something you enjoy, the heavy lifting or
I like a marathon-y type threshold session because I run on Sundays, not recently, but a lot of, the guys are training for London Marathon and they train for like a lot of marathons. So one of the groups I'm in is called Team Marathon Road. It's very exclusive. You have to be invited in. Sorry. No, it's just, you have to be fast. Otherwise it just doesn't really make sense. Like it's one of those things. And I do enjoy like a 3 times 5K or 3 times 3 mile with a 1 mile float, like a 3 times 5K type session.
Like nice long threshold.
Yeah. I think that like makes you feel fit. Like it makes you feel like, that was a solid session. Other than that, I'm doing a lot of strength work at the moment, and I don't dislike it. Like I find it's okay, but I tend to just like, because I get a 2-minute rest, I then just sit on my phone and then I'm like, right, Jake, get off your phone. So
get up and do something.
I don't love them, but anyway. But then other than that, Monday nights is my favorite, which is, have you heard of Forders?
South Birmingham, are they based?
Yeah, so I go there on a Monday night, so I'll get some work done now and then probably drive over to Rich's and get him to massage my lower back before the session, because when it's cold out, it's my back just goes into spasm. So
have you got like a rehab kind of plan that you're doing at the moment, or?
Yeah, I just make sure I warm up properly, to be honest. I normally get a massage once a week. I tend to, not everyone does, but I tend to kind of respond quite well to like a proper sports massage, and some like hands-on stretching.
Totally.
But not like a full-on rehabby plan, I guess.
No, just keeping on top of your recovery and being sensible. No, cool. So why should someone sign up for their first Hyrox, do you think?
I think the physical benefits, it's similar to CrossFit. Like you do the social and the other things as well. But I think like off the back of that, you're naturally like, without a lot of people go into their fitness journeys and they're like, right, I need to lose 10 kilos. I need to go and do this, and this. Whereas I think like if you do something and it becomes a byproduct, it's a bit like football in a way. It's like it's just disguised cardio. As much as Hyrox isn't really disguised cardio, which you're absolutely
if only it was disguised.
In my head, it's the same sort of mindset, right? Like it becomes a byproduct of going and seeing friends and training and being a part of something a lot bigger than yourself. Like everyone that goes has their own individual stories, and I think that's a really cool part of it. But I definitely think like you'll probably see a lot more benefits from a physical and mental perspective than if you just went and stood on a treadmill in the gym for 45 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
And it helps having that goal as well to work towards, like having something that you know you're
getting. And everyone can do it. Like there's no excuse. Really.
Yeah.
Like and if you can't do a movement, if you can't do a movement, you're probably not going to be competing at the top level. So therefore, things can be adapted for you. Like,
yeah, true.
Like everything's adaptable. And even on competition day, you just explain to a judge and be like, look, I can't do this movement. I'm going to do this instead. And
happy days.
Yeah, okay. Or just pre-warn them at least.
Yeah, no, I love that. And finally, who would you love to see on our podcast? It could be anyone. Is there anyone you want us to try and get on so you can hear?
Hyrox based or...
Oh yeah, it's a Hyrox podcast. I mean,
well, I don't know.
We could have a loose link.
Sports based.
Something that would add to people's Hyrox journey. So
you could get. I tell you who you could get on. You could get Charlotte on. So Charlotte is someone who I've become very good friends with, and we've not even been friends that long. But she competes in a wheelchair, and she's an absolute savage. Like
amazing.
She inspires me every day, and I just think I need more of that mentality when I'm racing. But I think she's got an injury at the moment, but I think we're going to do mixed doubles together in London, and I'm going to be in a wheelchair with her.
No way!
Oh, cool.
So
you're going to have to work on that strength then, because
I need to get I'm more worried about like blisters on my hand. I've got little soft hands. So yeah, I need to get a wheelchair from somewhere. But that's in the diary for I think it's the 4th of May.
That'll be amazing. We actually met Charlotte because we went and trained with CrossFit Vauxhall all summer. We were in London and she was there. But I think we left before she'd done her first Hyrox.
Yeah.
So we didn't actually see her compete in the first
work for Gymshark at the time.
They had their Thursday nights
running their sessions. And she wasn't even as part of the session. She was just training in the corner, and I just went up to her and said, like, I think what you're doing is really cool. I'm glad you feel that you can come and train in sort of like a general population gym. It's not like...
And like a massive shout out to CrossFit Vauxhall, because they are one of the most inclusive gyms. When you talk about going into gyms and different things, like we found them one of the most inclusive CrossFit gyms we've ever been to. So big shout out to those guys.
So and then and she was like, oh, I'd love to do a Hyrox, and I was like, well, if there's anything I can do to help,
amazing,
like just let me know. Like I've got enough contacts that we can sort something out. We've had a few disputes with Hyrox a little bit because of like, one, there isn't really an adaptive category, but like the big thing was like she competed and then they were like, oh, we can't give you a spot on the podium. And I was like, that's fine. Like, you don't need to give her a spot on the podium against like the other girls, but you can at least like just get her on the podium and give her a flag. Like she still competed. And
acknowledge that, she's competed.
Like it's not flipping difficult. It's a flag. It costs like £1. Like, just use your brain. Like she was then crying, and I was like, we don't need to have this. Like, stop closing doors. Like, open them. Like, be the key holder. And I think.
Do you think?
Moving forward.
Hopefully in the future there will be an.
So next year, I think it comes. I mean, it's a massive sort of process and protocol, because like you say disability, but there's so many disabilities, right? Like you could have no arm, you could like in swimming in the Olympics, in the Paralympics, it's like you got like 50 categories. So like
and if you want it done, it needs to be done properly. So we understand that Hyrox need to like look into it and do it the right way. It can't be a knee-jerk reaction, but
so but that, I think we obviously accelerated that, which is cool. And I think it needs to be done. And as much as sort of, we might be like annoying for Hyrox to make them do it, or like I feel like they should want to do it anyway, but I think like we can at least be like, we helped like speed things up at least.
Absolutely. And it would be incredible. Hopefully we can speak to Charlotte and get her story and journey for Hyrox. That would be a really, really good one. Great suggestion. And finally, is there anything you want to add? I mean, you are doing so much at the moment. Is there anything you want to let our listeners know about, or how they can follow you and your journey and the things you're doing, get involved?
So you can, I'm pretty active on social media. So if you want to sort of see the day in the life type style of how I train and a little bit of vanity along the way.
Bit of mustache here and there.
Bit of mustache, yeah. I did that this morning and thought, oh crap, I'm going to be on camera. But Jake Williamson is, I think it's just Jake Williamson _PT, but I think if you type Jake Williamson, it should just come up. And then if you want to get involved with any of the stuff I spoke about with B.T.N.D, the Instagram is just better.the.next.day. And when we should hopefully be doing something pretty, like we've got legs for funding now, which is nice. So at the moment we've just got two run clubs, which will do a lot of different activations. So it's not just a run club, but it's just easier to describe it as a run club, where there's music and lights and socials afterwards. So if you're in Birmingham or Clapham, come on down.
Amazing.
If you want one in your location, just let me know and we can try and get something arranged. But it's very reliant on volunteers and people that can be there each week. So it's one of those things where you need to do a bit of due diligence and all those fun admin-y bits as well. So that's me. And feel free to just drop me a message if you need any Hyroxy based tips or just want to chat.
No, that's amazing. Thank you very much for your time. Firstly, because we know how busy you are. We really appreciate you coming on. We will link all your socials and everything in the show notes. Thank you to everybody for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, because we certainly have. Please help us to grow this podcast. So follow the show, leave a review, and share this episode on your socials. Help us to build a backing for Jake as he goes for his next Elite 15. Line up maybe with a little more time than 24 hours and the right trainers next time.
Bit more prep.
And to find out more about us and the next upcoming guests, head to our Instagram at rad_chicks_, and we will see you on the next episode.
She's